Good morning, everybody. Marty Richards with Richland Center Tourism here today. And while it looks like it's a fantastic morning out here, and it is, the birds are singing, it's warming up nicely, the sun's high in the sky, everything looks great. We've just gone through 2 mornings of pretty sleepless nights for the folks up at Oakwood Fruit Farms. We had a night of 26 degrees.
We had 26.2, 26.3.
Yeah, so it was colder in the valley, I'll tell you that.
Yes.
Then last night, I know it was 28 at our place, but it was probably a little warmer.
It was
here.
30 here, so we were good.
I figure it's always 2 degrees.
Yeah.
I believe it or not, I don't make a dime off Oakwood Fruit Farms, but I know there's a lot of people in the community that sit there and when they know it's going to be cold and your buds are coming out, that we get nervous with you. So there's people with you hoping for the best. So real quick, Steve, I know that's always been something we're aware of, that, you know, as the trees are blooming and blossoming, it's like, oh man, you know, I hope frost doesn't hit. It's Wisconsin, so you don't know what's going to happen. Kind of help us understand, you know, last year we went through this, and your crop was really good, and so it really didn't have any negative effects. Now this year, number one, what do you look for? And then number two, what did you find this year when you went to look at them after these cold nights?
Sure. And it all kind of depends on the stage you're in bloom. We're at, and the varieties of bloom a little bit different. They could be a week apart. So right now, most of the varieties we have are what they call tight cluster to pink. And, you know, so if we take one of these off and we look at this variety, this is actually pizzazz, and this would be what we would call tight cluster. You can see how they're all tight closed yet, and you don't see any pink in there. Some of the ones are a little farther along, these buds will be a little more swelling, and you'll see it actually look like a little pink pom-pom.
Color starting to come to them.
And once they start to open up, they're more susceptible to cold temperatures. In the pink stage, you're talking 28, you're going to start to get some damage. You get down to 25, you're probably talking 90% kill.
Okay.
So
so you avoided really 25.
We avoided 25.
Okay.
Yeah, we probably maybe had some low spots that got there. But what I always do when I go to look at these, then you can take a knife or you can do whatever. But I usually just take my fingernail and you just pop them, and you can see inside there that's nice and bright green. And so at the bottom of the flower, you just pinch that. So, you know, like that one, you can see it's nice and green. If there was damage, you'd see right away, you'd see a brown dot in that middle. And that's what that's done, is that's killed the part of that flower that gets pollinated. That's the part that dies. So even after this, even if they were dead, they would open up and flower and they would look like they're okay. But if that center is black, it will not be pollinated.
Fruit.
No fruit.
Okay.
Yep.
And if you do have, I understand on your main channel, if you have some damage, you still can get fruit off the sides?
Yeah, it just depends on the stage and how cold it gets, whether it kills all of them. But usually your center bloom is your king bloom. That'll open up a little earlier. So that's generally a little more susceptible.
So the damage is.
Yep. And then you can still set on your side bloom. But your king bloom is always your best one to set.
Got it. And then real quick, just to recount. So this year, over the last 2 nights where we did have those cold temps, you saw a few places where there was some damage, but hopefully minimal.
Yep.
Okay, good deal. Then the second thing, we had done a video about grafting.
Yes.
And as I look right in front of me here in the pizzazz, we do have the result. And so kind of give us an idea what the time frame was that we're looking at of when these were grafted and when you'll get fruit.
Sure. So these were grafted 2 years ago. So the first summer, they probably grew and got about this tall, just a whip. And then last year, they did all the rest of this growing. So you can see these now, we've taken it from 1 tree to 2 trees. So we've increased our density per acre. But you can see they've filled their space in nicely. They're to the top of the wire. They've got they'll have a few more side branches come in. But these are basically ready to have as nice a crop as they can. And you can see up and down through here, there's a lot of fruit blossoms in these. So these trees, we're probably looking at having 50, 60 apples per tree. Full production on these would be like 70 to 80. So we're close in the 3rd year to having full production.
Okay. So the other thing that I know that so we've traveled a fair amount. My wife, Terry, and I have traveled quite a bit. And I think it was probably 5 years ago in Europe that we started to see this kind of a tree. You know, so a lot of folks remember, no, it's the old crooked tree with a lot of space in between them, and all of a sudden you started putting up it looked like grapevines.
Yes.
I know.
That's
I had
the most common question we had.
I had somebody mention to me once, what's going on up at Oakwood? Are they going to start making wine? And I said, well, I'm all in favor of it, but I don't think that's what's going to happen. And really what you were doing was transitioning your orchard to the high density growth varieties.
Absolutely.
So help us understand that real quick.
And you can do any variety in high density. A lot of it has to do with the rootstock you put it on, and the rootstock, every apple tree that comes from a nursery has two parts: the signwood, the variety on top, and the rootstock on the bottom. And the rootstock is bred just to control the size of the tree. So you can get, so we're all using very dwarfing rootstocks. These trees won't get much more than maybe 12, 14 feet tall. But what in the old way, we always left central leader and scaffold branches. Main branches stayed in the whole life of the tree, and we just pruned them back. Now in these, we never leave anything over about 3 or 4 years old. They only fruit on 2 and 3 year old wood, so anything older than that it's just there.
Yep.
And so you're growing small stuff off of that. But what you can see is we've done in here, we've come in here and we've cut, you know, some of these bigger branches out, and so we're always cutting back to stuff half the diameter of the leader, and that's all we leave in, and we're continually growing that new wood. That's what grows your best fruit.
Okay.
So no more green stuff in the center of the tree.
Yep.
So that's why we put them closer together, because there's just, this whole tree is productive.
Yep.
And a big old tree, a lot of it's not productive.
A lot of leaves, a lot of branches
exactly.
that aren't producing much of anything, and then, you know, really you start to get some pretty big trees. And I've seen apple trees back in the day that you could climb all over them because they were
20
really
feet tall,
hardy.
20 feet wide.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then you have the ladders. I always found this fascinating. Back in the day, and you might still have one of those, back in the day they had the ladders that you got them up to the top and they narrowed.
Yep, pointed ladder.
Because you had to get higher up to get to the fruit.
Yes.
So, well, thank you for that explanation. We're happy to hear that so far this spring hasn't really caused serious damage to your bud. It looks like the weather is straightening out,
Hopefully.
but as I always say in Wisconsin, if you don't like the weather right now, wait 10 minutes and it'll change.
Yes.
So, but we get into May, and usually we're starting to get into a safer zone there.
Exactly. Yep.
So, well, awesome. Well, thanks so much for all the help understanding that, Steve. We're really hoping for a big season. We know last year was a lot of fun up at the shed, and a lot of people came, and we hope to see more of those folks this fall. So, again, we would love to see you up here on the hill. You know, you're probably looking, let's see, it's April 22nd today. Oh, daughter's birthday. I'm glad actually tomorrow it is, so I'm safe.
There you go.
It's the 23rd. So April 23rd today. You're probably looking at next weekend, April 30th, for a good bloom starting to come. That might be a little
early, but starting.
Okay, so if you're looking for a nice drive just to check out how things are up on Apple Ridge at Oakwood Fruit Farms, you're probably looking at going into May, that weekend going into May, to get a good view of the apple blossom. So for Richland Center Tourism, I'm Marty Richards. Have a great day.